Hello everyone, my name is Sanjana Katenavar, bearing the USN 2ST22AC080. I am currently in third year pursuing Electronics and Communication Engineering at STM College of Engineering and Technology, Dharwad. In this video, I'll be demonstrating a C program for file transfer over network under the guidance of Professor Sunil Matat. I hope you find this video informative and helpful. Let's get started. Here is a clear explanation of server and client algorithms for a C program that performs file transfer over a network. First, the server sets up a communication line. We create a socket. Think of this like opening a telephone line. Then we bind this socket to a specific address and port number. After that, the server waits and listens for any incoming connection from a client. Once a client connects, the server accepts the connection and opens a new file to store incoming data. Then it starts receiving the file data sent by the client and writes it into the file. After the file is completely received, it closes the file and ends the connection. On the client side, we also create a socket to start communication. The client connects to the server using its IP address and port. Next, it opens the file that need to be sent. The client reads the file in chunks and sends each chunk to the server. Once the whole file is sent, the client closes the file and the connection. In VS Code, to explain the code, this particular code requires Linux environment to create libraries. Now, entering into the main program, specifying the domain name system socket, that is TCP, and system protocol TCP and UDP. Check whether the socket is available or not, that is successful creation of socket. If socket P equals to -1, P error in the socket is failed. So, it shows the exit status, creating a structure. Sockets acts in the internal structure and domain name data is transferred from application layer to transport layer. The transport layer data is transferred to the big engine. Format the host to network sort, which is two-way data, server IP address in the local host, and this is the IP address of local host, and coming to incoming connection of the client, we can listen to the request of the client whenever we want to interact with the client. This new FD is used. Now, printing the client request. When the client request is accepted, system call is used to Linux command displaying the list of files sent to the client. Now, using the string, we read bytes by bytes. Byte by byte we read it, and dynamic allocation pointer in the memory is allocated to runtime. Read string from the file to concatenate the message variable and enable the length of the first and second is shown by L1 and L2. Message equals to character star, that is malloc. We used malloc operator. Here for formality we use one after the other to reallocate. Getting the content of the file, we choose fclose. We print the last string that str is sends the message to the client, and when there is a successful running of file to the client, we add for the formality calloc after we reallocate. Getting the content of the file, we get the file and we print it as successfully receiving of the file, and file content is successfully sent to the client, and this is the message at the end. Coming to client part, here we use different data types. Here the stream socket, that is TCP protocol or TCP or UDP, we press 1 for the request of the file from the server or press 0 for exit. It is command based. Here checking whether the socket is successfully created or not, and socket adds in the internal structure giving it a domain name. The data is transferred from application layer to transport layer data in the big case. Server IP address localhost is the content that function we are writing to the server. For length, we are giving here a single variable sent from the server, that is L, and read from the server, that is int. We give the commands to the request adding the null character at the end. We print the message. We enter the file name from the server and file is successfully sent to the server, receiving the file content from the server, which I will be demonstrating using Linux, creating the sending new file to the server. We can send file from server to client. We can also write a content that file to a new file. We can write it to perform read and write operation. Now the file is successfully transferred and created in the client. We can also view by listing the file or by pressing 1 for user file or new file request or press 0 for new file to exit. We are simulating this code in Linux environment using a directory. We create a server base and client base. Now we will set the command by illustrating the files in command. We have created the TCP server using cctcp server.c. We copied the code and compiled it. Now we will create the client server, that is cc.tcp client. When we compile the code, we run the code by pressing 1 to request the transfer the file or 0 to exit the code file. When we press 1, it is connected to server. We enter the file name to request from server. I had given the file name as p.java. File name is successfully sent to the server, filed, received from the server, and we can see this message.